Godzilla's spines, fins, spikes, dorsal plates, or whatever it is that you may call them, just may be the single most recognizable feature to the world's most famous movie monster, protruding from Godzilla's back in every single movie. It's said that these plates represent each individual Godzilla's characteristics and personality. You can say it's something like getting your own unique haircut. Over the years, they have changed almost as much as Godzilla, sometimes looking like a maple leaf, others resembling jagged swords, and even at times looking like crystals. One thing, however, has remained consistent over the decades. The first thing that you normally see on Godzilla as he breaches the ocean are these iconic spines. Residents, sit with us as we go over the history of Godzilla's spines. Generally, Godzilla has 3 rows of spines that stretch from the back of his head all the way down to the tip of his tail. In the early years of Godzilla, known as the Showa era, these spines had one large middle row with 2 smaller rows on each side. The 1954 original film Godzilla sported spines that were jagged and uneven, and this stayed as the standard look of the plates for the remaining films in the Showa era. The color of the edge of the spines did make one small change though in the 1967 Son of Godzilla flick, changing from a silver coloring to a more earthy tan. The inclusion of the blue glow along the spines when firing his atomic breath during this era was the beginning of what would become another go-to characteristic of the spines of Godzilla. With the end of the Showa era and the beginning of the Heisei era of Godzilla films came drastic changes to the design of these iconic spines. So long to the goofy, floppy look of the past, and hello to these new, hard and sharp-looking bad boys. Instead of one prominent row of spines, the new era of spines used 3 rows of more equal-sized plates, making Godzilla appear much more ferocious and deadly, which fit with the new, less child-friendly route the franchise was heading towards. The new plates were massive compared to those that preceded them, but they did maintain the same overall coloring and detail that came to be the norm for the spines. The 1984 Godzilla was the first to update the plates, making them to appear much sharper than they ever were before. The largest spines in the 3 rows were actually located right above the G-Man's tailbone. This is the only version of Godzilla to have the main spines this low down the creature's back, as the norm is usually placing them near his shoulder blades or center of his back. A neat addition to the spines came in the 1989 Godzilla vs. Biollante, where new technology enabled the edge of the spines to glow with interior light, making this Godzilla appear to be almost bursting with energy. The glow within Godzilla's spine started to become more and more common at this point in Godzilla's history as well, with each new film trying to set the bar. 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroyer! The glow was intensified even more due to the burning Godzilla effect. As this Godzilla was nearing his death from internal combustion, his spines glowed in a bright orange and red sort of color, resembling superheated metal. The Heisei era came to an end in the mid-90s, and this opened the door for the Americans to give the G-Man a shot with the 1998 film that most now refer to as Zilla. Going for a more realistic look, Zilla's spines were triangular, with no multi-point or maple leaf looking effect, looking something much more like a Stegosaurus plates than ever before. The plates pointed forward, which was the first for the G-Man, and the 2 largest were directly above his shoulders, with the rest being much smaller and less noticeable. When the reins went back to Toho, they felt like they needed to reintroduce Godzilla as the most powerful and massive version yet in 1999's Godzilla 2000 movie. The spines were as crazy looking as ever, with a jagged sword-like appearance, and having a beautiful purple hue to them. This look must not have appealed to Toho or the Japanese fan base, however, as the very next film once again changed the look of the spines, and Godzilla in general, going back to a design that embodied the Showa era of films, with Godzilla GMK being a callback to the original Gojira film. The next film was more of a sequel to the Godzilla 2000 movie, as the design of the spines retained that same look as that version, but not nearly as large and no longer had the purple coloration to them. With the 2004 Final Wars film being what looked like the last Godzilla film for a while, Toho wanted to pay tribute to all the monsters fought over the countless decades of Godzilla, and to the original Showa design of Godzilla himself, including his spines. Going back to the very original look of the spines, one large center row with smaller rows on the outside, reaching all the way down to the edge of his tail. Legendary Films' Godzilla 2014 revamped the traditional Godzilla with a new and modern design, resembling what looked like a mixture of Zilla's triangular plates with those seen on the Millennium-era G-Man. These were intended to deliver a much more real design than those seen in the past, but without taking away the fact that Godzilla is a titan amongst lesser beings. The traditional blue glow of the spines as Godzilla charged and unleashed his atomic breath was updated for this film as well, with the spines now slowly building the intensity of their glow as Godzilla prepared to fire. Then came Shin Godzilla, the most radical and bizarre looking design to Godzilla yet. The spines on Shin Godzilla look like some sort of devilish crystals, having a deep red core and a dark outline. The spines also glowed a bright purple, instead of the common blue or orange from the past. Godzilla Earth from the anime series had spines that look like a mixture of the Showa era and Godzilla 2014, taking inspiration from both the classic look and the exciting new American film. Alright, now we have finally caught up to where we are currently in the Godzilla timeline, waiting for the sequel to Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters. From the early looks that we've gotten of the film, MonsterVerse Godzilla has had more changes than you would think occur to his spines. They have grown much larger, and have started to take on the jagged features that look much more like the Showa and Heisei versions. The blue glow of the spines has also been updated. There is now some sort of tribal looking design on the spines as they glow, although the cause of this is still unknown. More to come on this when the movie is released. And that was the summed up history of the evolution of Godzilla's spines. If you want to see more history of videos, make sure and let us know what you want to see next. It's been a pleasure making this video, and I appreciate all of your support, residents. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and make sure to follow us on all our social media pages. This has been Jacob, and peace out.